feel like I have to get mentally prepared to talk about this. Hello, welcome back. If you have been here before, if not, welcome. My name is Marissa. I'm a certified personal trainer and future dietitian, and you're watching Disney Channel. Okay, I don't know why I thought that was appropriate or funny. It's not. But that leads me into the segue of what we're talking about today, which is former Disney star Demi Lovato. I feel like by the time this video goes up, it's gonna be such old news, but I'm in finals week right now and I graduate in a week. So everything is going 100 miles an hour. I barely have time to study, let alone edit a YouTube video. So I apologize if this is just like super late and nobody's even talking about it anymore. That is why I am not making this a commentary video about Demi Lovato herself. There's plenty of YouTubers and plenty of news networks that covered this already. And if you need to know anything about it, I definitely suggest just watching someone else talk about it, not me, because that's not my place. I'm not really a commentary YouTuber. I am a health and fitness YouTuber, but this whole fiasco is very nutrition related, so I want to come at it as sort of a different angle than everybody else has. Being a future registered dietitian, this is my field, and I'm glad people are talking about this more as far as dietary restrictions go. I want to share a little bit and why honestly I'm glad that it happened. But I just want to get something clear before I really dive into this. I personally have never experienced an ED, and I'm not a dietitian yet, and I'm definitely not a dietitian specialized in EDs. So I will be avoiding that aspect of everything as much as possible. I feel like there's many more people qualified to talk about that other than myself, people that have personally experienced that or a dietitian specialized in it. So since I'm neither of those things, I don't want to impose any criticism towards Demi Lovato in that regard. I will say though, I find it extremely hypocritical that she called out this frozen yogurt shop when she has promoted detox teas on her Instagram in the past, which is like the epitome of diet culture. So really what I want to talk about in this video are the different types of dietary restrictions that this frozen yogurt shop was offering, along with many other places in the country. I don't know why she just went after this one in particular instead of like addressing them as a whole. I feel like that would have been a much better approach, but it seems she had some emotional ties to this one business. There's a lot of places that offer dairy-free, gluten-free, sugar-free, fat-free, all of those things. I'm not quite sure if this particular frozen yogurt shop does provide all of those things. To be honest, they need to update their website because I was looking and trying to find like nutrition facts or whatever I really could. I came up empty-handed. From what I've seen on social media, they offer dairy-free, gluten-free, fat-free, and sugar-free options. When I go to any frozen yogurt place, they usually have things like that, but I think what made this place extra special was they had baked goods in these categories as well, not just frozen yogurt, which I honestly find really great. I thought it would be interesting to share how many people in the United States have specific dietary restrictions that aren't Demi Lovato. The world does not revolve around her. First, let's talk about dairy-free. Why would a frozen yogurt place offer dairy-free? 3 that come to mind is if someone is vegan, which can be a health choice that someone makes, lactose intolerance, a choice that someone doesn't make, and milk allergy, which also something you cannot control. The point is, it's not just someone going in there and saying they're on a diet and wanting dairy-free because it's a lower calorie option or something like that. There are people in the world that actually cannot consume milk, some without an immune reaction, and others just can't digest it properly. Now, just up front, milk allergy should not be confused with lactose intolerance. They're two completely separate things. A food allergy happens when your body has an immune response, usually from a protein in a food. Food allergies can range in severity just from like a small rash to full-blown anaphylaxis, so it's really not something to be taken lightly. So unlike food allergies, food intolerances do not involve the immune system. When you are lactose intolerant, your body is missing the enzyme called lactase, which breaks down the sugar lactose in the body. And lactose is very commonly found in dairy products. So when someone with lactose intolerance eats something with dairy in it, they just can't digest it and they have gas, abdominal cramps, bloating. It's very uncomfortable. I believe I have lactose intolerance now. You can actually develop it later in life, but the good thing about lactose intolerance is it's not life-threatening, whereas a milk allergy could be. But let's just put food allergies into perspective in general. 32 million people have food allergies in the United States. That's a lot of people. And actually, milk is the #1 food allergy in young children. And considering plant-based lifestyles are becoming even more popular these days, it would be smart for a frozen yogurt place to offer dairy-free options. That's a whole new group of people that they wouldn't otherwise sell to. That's just a smart business move. Aside from even helping people with milk allergies or lactose intolerance, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the term dairy-free. It's not a diet thing per se. Some people, yes, may partake in a vegan diet or weight loss, but a lot of people do it for health reasons and environmental reasons. Now let's move on to gluten-free. Why would something be gluten-free? The three big ones: celiac disease, non-celiac gluten sensitivity, and wheat allergies. 1% of the US population has celiac disease and another 6% have gluten sensitivity on top of that. That's still a pretty decent size of the population. In celiac, the individual's body responds negatively to the protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. Wheat allergy also has an immune component, of course, but it's not directly from gluten. But a lot of foods that have gluten in it usually have wheat in it as well. They are usually a package deal. This is also why gluten-free may be very helpful for someone with a wheat allergy. With celiac, that is life-threatening. The people I know in my life that have celiac disease can't even have wheat in their clothing without them breaking out in rashes. And if there's any wheat fields in the area, they have a horrible time. They are constantly having a reaction, and it's very scary. People with CD don't really feel included that much because it's so hard to find gluten-free options in sit-down restaurants, for example. And being introduced to gluten over time can actually have a very harmful effect on the intestinal tract, leaving them with a lifetime of damage. So it's very important too, if something is labeled gluten-free, that it has absolutely zero trace of gluten in it. Let's segue to non-celiac gluten sensitivity, which is a little bit different. They won't have a full-blown reaction from it. Instead, it's usually accompanied by just abdominal pain and bloating. You can still be sensitive to gluten without having celiac. Whether you have celiac or whether you have gluten sensitivity, you want to avoid gluten. So gluten-free is the best option. You would be surprised if you actually paid attention to how much gluten is in the foods we eat. Most people, like myself, don't pay attention to it. I don't have a negative reaction from gluten. So I think the scary thing is it is really hard to avoid. 32% of gluten-free labeled foods contain gluten despite that labeling when we're talking about restaurants. I'm sure it feels so amazing and inclusive when someone with CD finds a restaurant or a place to go out and eat with friends that actually offers gluten-free options. This excerpt I'm gonna show is from a policy brief that I wrote for my nutrition and disease class this semester, and it applies directly to celiac disease, but I'm sure also applies to a lot of the other things we're talking about in this video too, so I wanted to share it. It says, one study found that many find it difficult to maintain relationships / fulfill social life and feel as if they are being perceived as rude or high maintenance when explaining to restaurant staff what they can and cannot eat. So being able to walk into a place and see gluten-free right at the front, imagine how good that feels. And Demi goes and shuts down this frozen yogurt place for doing just that, making others feel included. But because it didn't directly make her feel included, That's the problem. Like, if she had an issue with this place internally, maybe like vent about it to a few friends rather than posting it on her social media with 102 million followers, that's just insane to me. This is a small business. Someone from Georgia isn't gonna go to the Big Chill. Her fans are all over the world. Why would she be calling out this specific place in LA? It just doesn't make sense. But I digress. Overall, the physical and social aspect affects people with dietary restrictions. So the fact that Demi feels this place needs to bend over backwards for her dietary needs only shocks me. So let's move from celiac now to fat-free. That one I see perceived often as a diet food when you go for fat-free options, and that's correct. Fat-free foods often allow somebody who's trying to manage their weight eat something that they would otherwise tell themselves they cannot eat because the calories are much lower. Fats contain 9 calories per gram. Now compare that to carbs and proteins, which have 4 calories per gram, and you can see why some people who are trying to manage their weight would want to veer from something that has high fat content. Not saying that they shouldn't eat high fat, but it may give them better peace of mind when going for that fat-free option because they can still enjoy the food, like it still tastes good. Fat substitutes still provide that like mouthfeel because fat just tastes good. It keeps the texture without keeping the calories, which is why they've been used a lot in like snack foods, cookies, things like that recently. But you can also find them in frozen desserts. A couple fat substitute examples in the frozen desserts would be polydextrose, which has 1 calorie per gram, and modified food starch, which has between 1 to 4 calories per gram. Problem I have with these is that not a lot of research has been done on the long-term health effects, because there's a lot of controversy surrounding fat substitutes, especially Olestra, claiming they cause GI disturbances and the malabsorption of fat-soluble vitamins, which we much so need. Some studies have actually found that this is spot on. When fat-soluble vitamins are eaten at the same time as a fat substitute, it impairs absorption. So just from my standpoint, I wouldn't personally recommend using fat substitutes as an everyday thing. If you want to indulge yourself but feel like you would go way over your calories for the day and want to go for that fat-free option, go for it. If it makes you feel good and it makes you happy and it doesn't give you that sense of guilt that you might feel, not saying you should have it, but just hypothetically, then sure. But since we don't know too much about them, they're very new to the market, I would veer away from them. Let me know what you think in the comments about all of this, because a lot of this is factual, but I'm sprinkling my opinion in here and there, and I want to see where it aligns with yours. I have a lot of learning to do. I'm going to be starting my internship in the next few months, so by no means am I a dietitian, but this is just the way I feel from my education so far. So now let's talk about sugar-free. How many people in the United States have diabetes? And we are accounting for type 1 and type 2 diabetes, since sugar-free would impact them in a similar way. 34 million Americans, and 1 in 3 people have pre-diabetes. That's insane. Point is, for sharing that number, it is a very large percent of the population that could benefit from sugar-free. They are not doing it for dieting reasons or to try and lose weight and believing that sugar-free is going to help them lose weight and totally staying away from full sugar options, as Demi saw it as. The way she perceived all of this is not aligning with reality for a lot of these. Maybe fat-free, yes, but gluten-free and dairy-free, absolutely not. And she even said that they should have had labels like vegan or celiac, but just as you've learned from this video, it's not just people that are vegan that need dairy-free, not just people with celiac that need gluten-free. I think gluten-free and dairy-free as terms are more inclusive than if you were just to put a label on a certain disease or food restriction. But that's just me. Now, when something is sugar-free, they are either going to contain sugar alcohols or artificial sweeteners. There is a difference. Sugar alcohols are good for blood glucose when managing diabetes. The problem is, some sugar alcohols like maltitol and sorbitol have laxative effects. You don't absorb them very well. They'll basically just sit in your intestine and ferment. and cause a lot of uncomfortability. So when you're looking at, let's say, sugar-free ice cream, make sure you look on the label and see what kind of sugar alcohols are being used, because some of them is not gonna make you feel too good. But the plus side is there is a sugar alcohol called erythritol that has zero glycemic effect, and you just pee it out, so it doesn't give you that laxative effect that we've seen with other ones. Now, on the flip side, there are artificial sweeteners, which are a lot different. They're virtually 0 calories and way sweeter than regular sugar, so you can use them in much smaller amounts. Just for perspective, Splenda is 600 times sweeter than sugar. Now, the problem with these is some studies show links between artificial sweeteners and cancer in animals, but this hasn't been proven in humans. Also, 0-calorie sweeteners have been shown to increase insulin resistance, and with diabetes, that is not what we want. This study found that Group A patients who consumed artificial sweetening agents had higher insulin resistance as compared to Group B patients who had no artificial sweeteners. That's not good. So overall, with foods labeled sugar-free, it would be more important for consumers to recognize the type of sweetener being used in replacement of sugar and how it will impact their overall health. But I can see from Demi's perspective why sugar-free could be seen as diet culture. It has become this type of food that people see, oh, sugar makes me gain weight, fat makes me gain weight. So I get it. I do understand that aspect of it. But let's address the elephant in the room. I said in the beginning of the video and in the title that I am glad that this happened. Here's why. This frozen yogurt shop got so much free publicity. So much. People are siding with the froyo place over Demi because she was so dramatic about it. So I think it's actually great that this place has gotten more publicity. People in other commentary videos were saying that this could get this place shut down because how many followers Demi has, but I don't agree. But bad publicity in a way is good publicity because you're still getting eyes on your business, and I think that that's really gonna help this froyo place instead of hurt it, especially how they handled the situation. They handled it with grace, so I think that's gonna show a lot of people that they really care about their business and care about helping others. And this brings more awareness to dietary restrictions. This brings more awareness to why people need sugar-free, why people need dairy-free, and all of the in-betweens. I really even think that this could lead to more companies across the United States to start offering these types of foods. Food is a touchy subject. It can be difficult to navigate a lot of the time, so being able to make it a more inclusive environment when you do go out to places that are primarily serving dessert, I think that's awesome. Oftentimes, it's hard for people with certain dietary restrictions to be able to indulge because a lot of these more dessert type foods have a lot of the things that they can't eat. So I think it's amazing that a place that offers dessert foods has all these options. It can allow so many people to be able to enjoy the luxuries of just eating some sweets every once in a while. I'm so privileged to be able to eat what I want. I really feel for people who can't do that, and I want to bring more awareness to this subject. It is so important. So many people live with these types of dietary restrictions. She stated in her IGTV video that she would talk to the froyo shop to get the messaging right. I doubt the feeling is gonna be reciprocated after how she talked to them. It looked like, from an outsider's perspective, it looked like she bullied them. And so I don't think anyone would want to partner with their bullies, but who knows? I don't think they have to change their messaging. That's the thing. And she said people with EDs should be able to go in and feel safe wherever they eat. I 100% agree. However, there are so many other people too that don't have EDs that would want to feel safe going where they eat. For example, I'm gonna keep bringing up celiac because I feel like that's one of the more extreme cases that we talked about. People with celiac could literally drop dead from having gluten. Having that constant fear in your brain when you go out to eat at new places must be freaking terrifying. That part gets me heated a little bit because there are so many other people too that physically have to fear what they are eating. Reading the nutrition label 100 times over to make 100% sure that they're not gonna have an allergic reaction. So yes, we need to make it an inclusive environment for people with EDs, but we also need to make it inclusive for everybody else with dietary restrictions, food allergies, sensitivities, all the things. And we can do that. That's the thing. There is space for everybody. Different restaurants, different food places can cater to certain individuals and not cater to others. Like there could be a gluten-free only frozen yogurt place. There could be a dairy-free only frozen yogurt place. Whatever anyone wants to do with their business, they have the right to do. It doesn't mean they're excluding everyone else. They just want to make it more inclusive for a specific underrepresented group. That is how it goes. That is life in America. For example, my personal training services are catered to women. All of my marketing on my Instagram and on my website is about helping women. Does that mean that I won't train men? Absolutely not. Just because my target audience is women and I relate to women too, does not mean I will not train men. 95% of the people I train are women. It's just how it goes. I attract a more female audience and that's great. So I centered my business around helping women. But every once in a while I get a guy that comes around that wants to be trained by me and I love that too. I want to help everybody. That's the thing. But businesses can market to whoever they want, to whatever specific group they want. There can literally be so much space for everybody. And those who feel like the world should bend over backwards just to cater to their needs only puts a bad taste in my mouth. No pun intended. Some people think they can change the world just by complaining on social media, but that sadly is not reality. This froyo place does not need to change their marketing just to cater to Demi Lovato. And if that place personally feels like they are promoting more of a diet culture aspect and want to cut back on that and focus more on those dietary restrictions instead of saying things like guilt-free, they can make that choice on their own. The world is constantly changing and business owners can adapt the way that they want. But I'm really glad they got some extra exposure, like their follower count. I've been just popping in to see how many followers they're at, and before all of this they had like 1,000, and now I don't even know what they're up to, but I'll put some screenshots in for you. I hope you got value out of this video. I wanted to do something a little bit different than everybody else, not just reiterate the same thing over and over again that you're hearing from every other commentary YouTuber or news network. So I really hope that all of this resonated with you. If you agree with me, comment. If you disagree with me, comment. Let's have an open conversation that's also kind and respectful. I like reading criticism when it's kind and respectful. I don't like reading hate comments and things that are attacking me when I criticize other people, but like that's life, so I'm gonna deal with it regardless. Definitely subscribe. It's almost summer, so I'm gonna be posting more than just like once every 2 weeks, which I think is amazing. I really hope you will stick around for that and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Keep being amazing, and I will see you later.